Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really cutting through some of the usual motivational noise. We're analyzing a blueprint for achievement that argues pretty strongly that success isn't some gradual thing, it's more like an aggressive act. You seize what you want.
hmm
Yeah, the material we're looking at basically says the world rewards the relentlessly ferocious, and frankly, it suggests there's not much time for just being tentatively prepared.
That's right. Our focus today is drilling down into the strategic mindset from Don P. Baker's text, Be Ferocious, Blueprint for Relentless Achievement. And our mission really is to get past maybe the hype, the rhetoric, and pull out the actual actionable frameworks, the mechanics, you could say.
The mechanics, I like that.
Yeah, the things Baker claims you actually need to cultivate that tenacity, that focus, and the structural resilience to really dominate in a competitive space.
In this book, it doesn't just suggest working hard, does it? It sounds like it's demanding a total mindset shift, a revolution even. It frames being ferocious not just as like an option, but as a full commitment, a specific way of executing life, work, everything, challenging every limit you thought you had.
Okay, let's unpack this though,
Yeah.
because ferocious, that word, it carries some pretty heavy baggage, right? What does the source actually mean by it?
That's a vital point. We absolutely have to separate ferocious from just, aggression or uncontrolled anger. According to Baker, ferocity is much more controlled. It's a highly focused state. Think of it like a mindset built on maybe three pillars. Radical boldness in setting your goals,
Okay.
unwavering determination when you're executing them, and almost like a clinical focus on the output, the results.
Clinical focus, interesting.
It's not about emotional outbursts. It's about harnessing that deep inner drive, he calls it inner fire, and channeling it into disciplined, purposeful action.
And what really leaks out of me from that is the zero tolerance for just sitting back, for passivity or
Yeah.
settling for good enough.
The source seems to treat mediocrity almost like the ultimate enemy. It implies being ferocious means you have an obligation to wake up every day, not just ready to clock in, but with this insatiable hunger, a hunger to improve, to grow, to execute things you can actually measure.
Precisely. And the practical difference is crucial here. Ferocious individuals, as Baker defines them, are about creation, not reaction.
Ah,
They
okay.
don't just wait around for a market opening or hope for a promotion. They actively manufacture those opportunities.
So they make their own luck, essentially.
In a very structured way, yes. When a challenge pops up, they don't back off or try to negotiate around it. They dive straight in, head first, knowing they have to adapt, they have to learn, and they have to do it faster than anyone else around them.
Wow.
And that demands a really unapologetic clarity about your vision and the commitment to stick to that vision. Hold it firm, even when it feels awkward or socially uncomfortable.
You mentioned something earlier, or the source does, about intelligent effort. I'm really honing in on that. Because if ferocity isn't just brute force, how does the book define that? How does it teach intelligent effort? Just saying try harder is kind of vague, right?
Right.
But intentional choices? That suggests there's a structure behind it.
Oh, absolutely, a demand structure. Intelligent effort in this context means really applying something like the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule, but applying it not just to what you produce, but to how you allocate your energy, your focus. Baker suggests doing like a rigorous daily time audit. Figure out the 20% of tasks that actually give you 80% of your progress towards the big goal.
Okay, the high leverage stuff.
Exactly. And then dedicating what he calls power blocks, these periods of absolutely uninterrupted high-intensity focus just to those specific tasks. It's like taking deliberate practice models, the kind athletes use, and applying them ruthlessly to your professional life, making sure every hour you spend is maximizing your leverage towards that often audacious goal.
That makes it way more concrete. So, okay, if passion is the internal fuel, this rigorous structure is the engine the source material is providing. And this is where it gets really interesting, I think. The practical promise. The source claims it gives you a specific blueprint, actionable strategies that, high achievers actually use.
Yes, the blueprint lays out 5 core practical outcomes. And these aren't just like feel-good motivational statements. They're more like tactical objectives for you, the listener. First, learning how to dismantle the specific mental stories, the narratives, the barriers that are holding you back, really pinpointing them.
Okay, internal work first.
Right. Second, developing the actual mechanism to channel your emotional energy. Could be frustration, excitement, whatever, directly into that focused, purposeful action we were just talking about.
So those first two are about controlling your internal state, right?
Yeah.
But the next three seem more about external performance, especially when things get tough, under fire.
Precisely. The third principle is building a psychological framework, a mindset that doesn't just, tolerate pressure, but actually thrives under it, gets energized by it.
Wow.
Fourth, and this is key, implementing a specific structure, a kind of postmortem process to make sure every single setback instantly transforms into a measurable stepping stone for growth. You learn from it immediately.
Instantly.
Get into that. And fifth, cultivating this unshakable, non-performative confidence, real belief, the kind that lets you pursue goals that other people might look at and say, that's irrational or that's impossible.
Okay, let's push on that fourth point for a second. Turning setbacks into stepping stones. That sounds great. We hear it a lot, but it's easy to say. What's the mechanism there? Does Baker suggest a specific process for when you inevitably fail or hit a wall? Because everyone does.
He's actually quite clear on the mechanics of what he calls failure conversion. And yeah, it's highly structural. It's not about feeling good about failure. The book pushes for immediate, very cold, unbiased after-action reviews, AARs.
Okay. Like military uses?
Similar concept, yeah. You immediately document what was the plan, what actually happened, why was there a difference, what were the root causes, and crucially, what structural changes, not just intentions, but actual changes to process or approach must you implement within the next, say, 24 hours.
24 hours? That's fast.
It is. The ferocious individual in this model doesn't waste time wallowing or blaming. They analyze the data points from the failure, integrate the findings instantly. Basically, they treat failure like rapid, maybe high cost, but incredibly valuable market research.
That completely reframes failure, doesn't it? It's just data acquisition.
Pretty much.
And that ties directly back to what you were saying about intention and discipline. You need absolute clarity on your vision, knowing exactly what success looks like, the metrics, and pursuing that relentlessly.
Sure.
But this level of intensity, it sounds exhausting. I have to ask, does the source address the potential for burnout or the cost of always refusing to compromise?
It does address intensity, but it flips the script a bit. Baker argues that true ferocity, done right, actually prevents burnout. He suggests burnout usually comes from diffused effort, trying to do too many things, spreading yourself thin and a lack of clarity, you're spinning your wheels. But when your energy is channeled almost exclusively into those high-leverage power blocks, and your vision is crystal clear, the perception of effort changes. It stops feeling like draining labor and starts feeling like purposeful investment. You see the needle moving.
Okay, so focus prevents strain. What about compromise?
The book is very clear. You must never compromise on the core vision or your fundamental values. Those are non-negotiables. However, you must remain fiercely adaptable, almost ruthlessly flexible about the tactics you use to achieve that vision.
Okay. Vision fixed, tactics fluid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That adaptability, that willingness to change the how while protecting the what and why, that's the non-negotiable component of endurance, according to Baker. It's how you last.
So if the vision is the fixed North Star, the method has to be like water, able to shift. Okay, this brings us back to something fundamental. Fear. How do you maintain that high momentum, that adaptability, when fear naturally makes us freeze up, paralyzes decision-making?
Right. Fear is a huge factor. The ferocious mindset is explicitly designed to transform fear. Not ignore it, not overcome it necessarily, but transform it into usable fuel. Baker suggests a specific technique, a kind of pre-mortem visualization.
Pre-mortem, like thinking about failure beforehand.
Exactly, but in a structured way. You don't just vaguely imagine success, you rigorously pre-imagine the worst-case scenario. You plan for it. By actually calculating the potential cost of failure before you act, the risk becomes quantified. It's less of this huge, abstract, terrifying monster.
It becomes a number almost.
Or at least a known quantity. So instead of retreating when things feel scary, the individual can actually stand taller because they've already thought it through. They have a contingency plan, even a rough one. And that allows them to move forward with calculated conviction, not reckless abandon.
I really appreciate that emphasis on strategic risk. It's not just about being blindly bold. This mindset, it doesn't wait for permission slips or, the perfect market signal flashing green.
Yeah.
The book seems to champion the courage to embrace uncertainty, take those strategic weighted risks, and actually step into the unknown, especially when everyone else is being cautious.
It definitely emphasizes urgency, but again, not recklessness.
Mhm.
Urgency is framed as this relentless awareness that time. Well, time is the ultimate non-renewable resource, isn't it? You can't get it back.
True.
So you create momentum by making decisive choices, even imperfect ones. Get the ball rolling, forge ahead.
Hmm.
Where other people might see a lack of data or uncertainty as a complete roadblock, an impenetrable barrier,
Yeah.
the ferocious mind sees an opportunity.
Mhm.
Opportunity to define the path, to write the map. They find immediate, maybe temporary solutions to keep moving while simultaneously working towards a better long-term optimal outcome.
Okay, finding solutions where others just see barriers. That's powerful. Now, let's maybe introduce a little critical balance here because this sounds incredibly individualistic, very competitive. Does Baker's blueprint talk about collaboration at all? Or patience? I mean, are there scenarios where not being ferocious, where maybe waiting or collaborating in a less driven way or delegating control might actually be the smarter strategy?
That's a really crucial question. And yes, the source material is definitely centered on personal accountability. That individual drive is core. However, it frames ownership not necessarily as working in isolation, but as being so driven and clear that you attract the right kind of collaborators.
Ah, okay. Like attracts like.
Sort of. You have to be ferocious in selecting your team, your partners,
Right.
people who also embody that same level of drive and competence. You don't carry dead weight. As for patience, well, patience in the traditional sense, like just waiting
Right.
passively for results, that's rejected. But strategic patience, which Baker defines as the sustained, disciplined execution of those daily power blocks, maybe for months, even years, without seeing obvious external results yet, that is considered the ultimate ferocious act, the long game.
Understood. So it's not brute force isolation. It's more about highly intentional team building and that sustained disciplined effort over time.
Got it. Okay, moving into the ripple effect this might have. This level of authenticity you mentioned, owning your path, pursuing ambitions unapologetically, that must sometimes clash with what others expect, right? External expectations.
Oh, it absolutely must. And that's part of the point. It's about establishing what you might call internal congruence, making sure your external actions, what you actually do, perfectly reflect your internal ambitions and values, regardless of cultural norms or social pressure.
So being true to yourself, but in a very active way. Exactly. You refuse to be defined or limited by how other people think success should look. And taking that full ownership, that radical responsibility, creates this inescapable sense of authority around you. And that, Baker argues, naturally inspires the people around you. When they witness that level of unwavering commitment, that structural competence in action,
Yeah.
it provides a very real, tangible example. It can fuel them to maybe dream bigger themselves or tap into their own potential in a way they hadn't considered. Your determination becomes a kind of beacon.
So the legacy isn't just about what you accomplish personally, it's about potentially reshaping the environment around you, too.
Precisely. The book really defines the ultimate goal as living a life of clear purpose, demonstrated impact, not just busy work, and that relentless pursuit of personal and professional greatness, however you define it. The legacy, then, is defined by that structural competence we talked about, the boldness to act, and that extraordinary strength of spirit that comes from systematically turning obstacles into data points, into fuel. It's the kind of energy that doesn't just, proverbially move mountains. It implements the engineered design that actually reshapes the entire landscape.
Wow. Okay. So, wrapping this up, what does this all mean for the person listening right now? If we distill the absolute essence,
Hmm.
ferocity in this context, it's a commitment to living life with structural competence fueled by calculated passion and unyielding resilience.
Hmm.
It requires